welcome to Detroit in Black and White, and we're broadcasting live from lovely downtown Trenton at Ramsey's. Joining me this Saturday afternoon, trying to bring it to Sunday, political consultant and attorney Vanessa Moss. Good morning.
What up, though?
Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Washington Post, Detroit News, and the Eagle American. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And sitting in today, former police chief here in Trenton, who they ran out on a rail. No, I'm just joking. Jim Nardoni.
Good morning.
Good morning. So who we got here before we start with our outrage? Who we got here standing next to you, Jim?
So first off, thanks to Ramsey's for having us today, Johnny and Mia, Linda, and we have Aiden Kira here, who is the grandson of Johnny, and they have a special here at Ramsey's called the Aiden Special. We're going to ask Aiden what the Aiden Special is all about. Go ahead.
The Aiden Special is like with bacon, and it's a cheeseburger with pickles, and you can add fries with it and any kind of bun.
Okay, you eat it a lot?
No, I eat my new thing on the menu. It's called the corned beef hash smash. It's with toast and grilled cheese and corned beef hash, and you can choose fries to go with it.
Okay.
Wow, sounds good to me.
Thank you, Aiden. You're good.
Make me want to eat.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, let's get right down to it. Ladies first. Vanessa, Queen Vanessa, what's your outrage?
Oh, okay. You hit it right this morning, Queen. That I am. My outrage this morning, seriously though, it has to do with a young lady. She and her husband. She's pregnant. Carried a baby full term. Went to the hospital to deliver the baby. The baby's shoulders got stuck in the vaginal canal. The doctor decapitated the baby, waited too late to try to do a cesarean, decapitated the baby, tried to conceal that the baby was decapitated because when the parents asked to see their child, they wrapped the baby up and presented the baby, conceal the fact that that the baby was decapitated and the baby was dead. Now that is not outrageous and traumatic and pitiful and maddening and saddening. I don't know what is. Even with a lawsuit pending, guess what? The trauma that they experience, you carry a baby for 9 months, full term. You go to deliver the baby, and the doggone doctor decapitates the baby and then tries to conceal it. That is outrageous.
I agree. That's totally outrageous. By the way, the state senator is here. Do we want to? Is she on a time restriction?
Yeah. Why don't we bring her on?
All right, we're going to
go back to the outrage.
Okay. There we go.
Joining us, thank you, State Senator Sylvia Santana. Thank you. I know you have a busy Saturday. Let's get right to it. You went to Israel, and it caused a lot of outrage in your community. First of all, tell our viewers and listeners, who do you represent in your district? What cities?
Oh.
We're not getting that.
There we go.
Okay,
Hi,
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. Yes, I thank you so much for this conversation as well. I represent the cities of Dearborn Heights, Allen Park, as well as Detroit. And through the redistricting process, this district has become a very suburban Detroit district. So what I mean by that is that the district is only 32% of Detroit. Excuse me. So you have the northwest side of Detroit is the area that I represent. And so the district makeup, you would have a significant population of Arab Americans who, quite frankly, is the highest concentration of Arab Americans outside of the Middle East.
Okay. So you went to Israel. What happened?
Yeah, so through the budgetary process, we have several individuals within the Health and Human Service budget that receive a line item called protected classes. So you have several nonprofit agencies that receive funding to help support our migration of refugees and others to the state of Michigan, as well as help to support their communities. And so the Jewish Federation being one of those agencies. And so this trip to a mission trip to Israel has been done from time immemorial through the state of Michigan. So it's not something that lawmakers have not attended in the past. However, because of the district I represent, there is a lot of sensitivities to what people feel as far as that region goes. Obviously, you all know that there's been several instances of just war or opposition within that region because of the historical aspect of that region. So, that's kind of what has transpired. And so the Arab American community felt, obviously sensitive to this. And so the apology that I issued was more so about making sure that I was recognizing their sensitivities to the issue. But I don't think, as a lawmaker, I think it's very important to take advantage of these opportunities to understand how countries like Israel impact Michigan. And we do a lot of business as well as other trade with Israel. And so I think that, more importantly, it's about educating, us as lawmakers, as well as understanding that community is tired. So for me, the trip was about learning what aspects of the country of Israel are impacted by Michigan here on the ground.
Let me ask you, there's also, there is, I think the Ford Motor Company has some, Israel is a high-tech country, and I think Ford Motor Company and some other companies here in Michigan do business with Israel. I appreciate you going there, and I'll tell you here my biases, whatever. I'm pro-Israel. I'm pro-Palestinian. I want peace in the region. I have cousins there. I was just there in November and December, and I think the more that people go there, I mean, it'd be great for you to have an opportunity to go to the Gaza, go to the West Bank, and see what's going on there. But it's, it bothers me that like people like Rashida Tlaib, who I was very supportive of, I feel like she's done nothing to really, I don't care if she hates Israel. That's okay with me. But she hasn't done anything to move the ball forward I'm for Israel getting out of the West Bank, but there has to be a peace agreement or Israel will just go in and attack them. So I appreciate you going and getting an understanding of that. And I think people need to go to Israel, to the West Bank, to the Gaza. And so I don't think you really, I understand where you can say to your constituents, I understand your sensitivities, but we can't make peace. It's the only path there. There's no military solution. There's we can't make peace. I mean, peace has to be the only solution. And when all these people get mad that you're going there to try to understand what's going on, I don't think you need to apologize.
But I have to give a state senator credit. Well, she went back and she talked to the people she represents.
Sure.
Rashida Tlaib went to the West Banks, didn't do anything in the 13th district, but her agenda was right off the bat going over there and not talking to the folks in Detroit. You can't have it both ways. You can't get mad at one person. You don't get mad at the other person. How do you move forward, Senator?
I think, ultimately my job and my role is here in the state of Michigan and, making sure that here on the ground, we're dealing with some of the trauma and issues that people are dealing here with locally. I mean, when you look at some of the issues with gas station owners and people being killed on site, for issues within the community or just the humanitarian issues collectively here in our state need to be addressed. All of the violence and crime, the gun violence here, right, locally in our communities is something that I think warrants, a larger conversation and audience as well. And I believe that, those issues also cannot be, sent to the back burner in our communities. We have too many young people dying. Unfortunately, I'm here at a funeral, where a kid, his drink was laced with fentanyl. And that's unfortunate. And, and so he lost his life, never had a drug in his system. And so these are the type of issues that we need to address right here locally in our communities, right here in the state of Michigan.
Jim, you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Vanessa.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
I had a question. Okay. So you went to your constituents and you apologized. Have your constituency been receptive? And how much contact do you have with your constituency? Do you go out regularly?
Vanessa, that's a great point. For me, representing this district was one of the things that, as a state lawmaker from the city of Detroit, a Black woman representing a community that is definitely different from Detroit.
Right.
One of the things that I've always tried to do as a state senator of that community is make sure that I'm present, make sure that I'm listening to the concerns of the constituency, make sure that we're bringing back resources to the community as a whole. And what to me is so disheartening about this whole situation is that in the 7 years that I've represented this district, never has there been just an outpouring for all of the good things that I'm doing in the community. It's not until I do something that people don't agree with that I'm getting all this reprimand or just, verbal lashing, if you will, because that's what I think it is. Mm-hmm. And it's just unfortunate because, when you have a good representative that's not in controversy, that's not, representing the community in a negative light, it is very disheartening that this is the only time that you come to me with this issue. I think also what's more important to point out is that other people have traveled to Israel from the state, whether it be the governor of the state of Michigan, whether it be other legislators. You have people of Congress who travel to Israel as well. And I think that, this to me, it's such a disheartening situation that really has lent itself to me being caught in the middle of something that really should not have been a circumstance. I think that had I heard from them throughout my time serving in the community, heard those personal stories, heard that, how they feel, how their personal families have been impacted. I think I would have had a little bit more clarity of mind if I've heard that on the forefront of the issue. But I think that, that is all a part of understanding and just becoming a better lawmaker in its whole.
Well, if you wasn't a strong lawmaker and you would impose a threat to some of those folks who think you might have ambitions to move on to a higher office, you probably wouldn't have got all this. This is my opinion. All this blowback. Allan, go ahead.
It's a very emotional issue, and there's not, both sides. There's plenty of blame to go around on both sides there, but I commend you for going and trying to get an understanding of what's going on over there. And I hope you get an opportunity to go to the West Bank and Gaza at some point and also see that aspect of it. And together, like I say, it's important that we move forward and try to make peace in that region because there's so much wealth there in that region. I mean, the high-tech industry is just, and it could spread to the Gaza and the West Bank if we figure out a way to have some peace. But there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of. I lost one of my cousins was killed in Israel. He was in the army. There's a lot of sad stories there, and like I say, both sides take some responsibility for it. So
we're gonna have to end it here. State Senator, thank you. We're gonna have to have you on again. State Senator Sylvia Santana, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And let's go to a break, and we'll be right back. Detroit in black and white.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes, Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's Office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, we back, Detroit in black and white with Vanessa Moss, Allan Lengel, and Jim Nardoni. I'm Adolph Mongo. We go back to our outrages of the week. Allan, before we had the senator on, your outrage.
My outrage. I was just going to say that Ron DeSantis just continues to show what a bad candidate he is. He fired his manager. I think it's his third manager already. And really, the issue is not the managers. It's the candidate. He's got a poor message, and he's got a dangerous message that, like George Wallace back in the day. I mean, George Wallace was popular enough to become governor, but thankfully he was not popular enough to be president like he was trying to be. And the same thing with Ron DeSantis. I think his views are really so harsh and so anti so many people. I mean, we need candidates who are going to represent everybody, who are not just going to be like, I'm just for these people and these people. I mean, you can obviously represent certain views that you have, whether it's on abortion or whatever, but in the end, you're representing everybody. And I think he would not do a very good job of representing people
Did you know now they're saying in Florida that in order to, in school, if somebody want to call you by your nickname, you got to get permission from the school. These people out of their fucking mind. Ron DeSantis' real name is Ronald. This is like, okay, if I call you Jack, that's not your real name, you get kicked out of school.
Wow.
That is unbelievable. You know what? But at least George Wallace came up in a time where this segregation, being a racist, was the norm, right. And they didn't hide the fact. But Ron DeSantis, what he's doing is, when he fired the an elected state attorney, replaced her with a so-called black judge who immediately just fired everybody, fired a woman that was on maternity leave. They got rid of all the programs, the Virgin program. Vanessa, you're an attorney. What happens when you got those programs and they just go away? They all go back to court?
Well, clearly, there's going to be a whole lot of litigation going on. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you what the outcome is going to be, but there's going to be a whole lot of litigation. And as you see, we see a lot of, to me, rallying, because we see all of this in the news. We see it on social media. We see them in all of the news, the Post, Wall Street Journal. So it's a setup for, we're going to litigate this issue. But it also, I think it's going to have some ramifications in terms of politics. Who's going to run for governor the next time? Who's going to run for attorney general next time? These are political issues.
Yeah, well, it sure is. Jim, you're outraged.
I'm outraged about the attack on the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment is, whether it's censorship in Florida, whether it's the government trying to censor the COVID, the social media, we need to change that. This has been here since 1789. We need to leave the First Amendment alone, including not only the First Amendment. What's next? Is it search and seizure? Is it self-incrimination? Why does government need to be involved in censorship and attacking the First Amendment?
Why is government can get you, the police agencies can stop you if you got 10 grand on you and take it, and then you got to fight like hell to get it back. or sometimes you don't get it back.
You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to fight. You shouldn't have to fight the government. But that's just an erosion of our rights, and that's something we all need to look at. When you start thinking about telling people what to believe, that's North Korea. That's not, hey, the government's great, the economy's good. Go get a haircut.
But you can say,
go get a haircut.
You can yell fire in a theater, and some people get killed trying to get out of it. You need to be prosecuted.
I mean, I'm not going to whisper, but the economy's shit right now. I don't care what anybody says. You go get a haircut, go get groceries, go out to dinner. I went to Chick-fil-A the other day. It was almost $30 for 2 people. This is getting ridiculous.
That's sad. That you got.
But this is the thing.
What's your point on the
talking about the First Amendment? You can say whatever the heck you want to say. It's a matter of, are you going to have to pay? Are there going to be repercussions behind whatever it is that you say? They're not saying that you can't say these things, but you know what? There's always repercussions in everything that we do. So, Adolph gave an example of, yelling fire in the theater. Sure, we can do that. But when you do that, there's going to be repercussions behind that.
A lot of people died from COVID. We understand that. The shots were necessary. But people are allowed to believe whatever they want to believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't lead people down that path. That's North Korea. When the president says everything's perfect, it's working, why doesn't he tell the truth? Why don't we go after what the real problem
maybe that's
is?
what he believes. But I'm saying if you just said that people believe what they want to believe and you can believe what you want to believe, if he says that and he believes that, that's his belief.
And if
I think
a cow, he gonna identify as a cow or pansexual. Like, I can't even watch Let's Make a Deal because he came out and said he pansexual, trisexual, whatever sexual.
I don't even know
what. So he believes that. So, but people don't want to accept that.
But you have a soldier over in North Korea.
I'm going to say, in terms of the economy, in terms of the economy, look, the inflation is I mean, anyone who goes out to eat at a restaurant knows now it's so expensive to go. Even to the cheap restaurants are not so cheap. What issues we've had is, the supply chain. The problem is the supply chain, some of it's been fixed, but they haven't adjusted the prices. But also during the pandemic, it was so hard to get help. They had to pay people more. White Castle paying $15 an hour. And so guess what? It's hard to tell somebody, okay, things are better now. We're going to give you a $3 decrease in your pay. So some of that is coming through. We're getting better wages, but we're paying a lot of money for stuff that we're not used to paying, and that's painful. And so unemployment rate is the lowest, I think, since the 60s. So you can pick and choose what's good and what's bad, and we can talk about some of the stuff that's inconvenient to us, but we're still living a pretty good life. But not to say there are other people are hurting because gasoline prices, we're seeing it creep up again. We're seeing, I was in DC, I went for lunch, $100, just insanity.
But you know what, though, guys? Listen, isn't this cyclical? I mean, I remember back in the when I was a kid, the 70s, inflation was an issue. Gas prices was an issue. This is something that, it of course, they make it a political issue, but this is cyclical. I mean, it happens. We continue to live. This is what we're going to continue to see. That's the bottom line.
I mean, I think it's pretty nice. I think it's good that we have wages, particularly for, on the lower end now, that people are actually making a little more of a living wage, although inflation's taking some of that away. But it's sort of yin and yang there. It's like your salaries are going up, but the prices are going up. So are you really making more money, or are you it's all out of whack?
It's a shell game.
Yeah.
That's all. But anyway, going to move on. My outrage was Ron DeSantis and the judges, but the bottom line is that we can talk about this forever. There was a story that made that national headlines down in Montgomery, Alabama. The former cradle of the Confederacy. I've been to Montgomery, nice little town and stuff, but this is where the civil rights movement was born. This is where racism was basically created in that little city. And Allan, why don't you play the video?
This morning, arrest warrants have been issued for at least 4 people after this brawl in Montgomery, Alabama. Witnesses say it started when this crew member in the white uniform tried to move a pontoon boat being used by a group of white men. The boat was blocking a large river boat from docking.
Those guys who parked there were told not to leave it there, and they left it there.
A man confronts the dock worker and then several people join in, outnumbering the crew member. This woman kicking the man while he was down.
You just felt so helpless for that man. Like, there's 5 or 6 of them on him.
That's when witnesses, most if not all of them black, rushed to the man's aid, one even swimming to the dock to join in. The fight turning into a full-on melee, the violence escalating. One man was detained after using a chair as a weapon. Police confirm these videos are part of their investigation. According to Montgomery's mayor, officers detained several reckless individuals for attacking a man who was doing his job.
Jim, you're a former cop. How would you have dealt with that?
I would have just watched. I don't know if I want to get involved in that. There's a lot of violence going on there.
You know what? Fortunately, nobody was killed as a result. I mean,
good old brawl.
It was a brawl. Nobody was killed. You know what's interesting about this is you have all kinds of opinion of the brawl. There's some people who are saying, you know, there's all kinds of memes on social media. Some of them I found quite hilarious, but you know, you have people saying, well, you know what, this is sad. You shouldn't be laughing about it. But, you know, I sat back and I thought about this. I said, you know, when we have things that happen, terrible things to happen in our lives, like, for instance, someone who passes away. One of the things that we go and do is we gather together and we tell funny stories, because that's a way that we deal with trauma. So I don't think that people should be so critical of people who are making light of it. It was very serious. I thought it was very disrespectful for those people who felt like they could just dock their boat, had those people sitting on that riverboat for over 40 doggone minutes. And when this man who was doing his job asked you to move your attacker, well, you know what? It won't be it won't be if you don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. Bottom line.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's just such a crazy scene there, and it's just, I mean, it was really, these guys were just probably drunk. Yeah, these big time wrestling. It's just
WWF.
It
was unbelievable.
Two things go.
I mean, the guy moved. I think the guy did move the boat, which was he was supposed to do. He was doing his job, and these guys are just assholes. And then they all gang in and start beating on the guy. It was just, it's just.
You know what? They thought they could get away with it, because clearly you thought you were in the right. You thought you could get away with it, but what you didn't expect is for people to say, you know what? We've had enough of this nonsense. This not going down today.
I like
the cavalry. They had the
going down today.
The cavalry came.
Right.
Yeah, the cavalry came and evened it out. You know.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, here's the thing there's a couple of things. Drinking goes with everything, but drinking goes with boating more than any. Boating and bowling are two of the things that people are masquerading as doing something other than drinking.
Right. Let's ban. I think we need to ban bowling and boating.
Well, we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna bring on Frank Wood to talk about this fundraiser. Is it a fundraiser?
It is. It's a motorcycle ride.
Yeah, Frank Wood.
Oh,
okay.
All right.
Let's take a break.
All right.
We'll be back with Detroit in black and white.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes, Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's Office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, we have Frank Wood, who's a retired corporal from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. He's here to talk about a charity event to honor I call a fallen, an officer that was killed out while he was out jogging.
Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, yes. Mr. Mongo, thank you for having me. And Mr. Nardone, it's always a pleasure to see you. This Saturday at the Harley-Davidson dealership on Telegraph Road, just north of North Line Road, there's going to be a fundraiser ride for the retired fallen sheriff sergeant, Mr. Lee Smith. For those of you who didn't know who Mr. Lee Smith was, he was a veteran of the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, and we called him on the Sheriff Department Superman. Mr. Lee Smith was a mounted officer who rode the horses. He was a championship motorcycle rodeo officer with the Wayne County Sheriff Department. He was also in charge of that motorcycle unit that he loved very much. He was also supervisor on the Wayne County Sheriff's Special Response Team. So, as I indicated, he had a lot of different facets to his life. And not only with that, he was well respected by his peers and the subordinates that he supervised. So,
tell us a little bit about how he lost his life.
Mr. Lee Smith lived near Hines Drive, and periodically 3 to 4 days a week, he would take a jog through Hines Park. And on this particular morning, myself and my partner, we was working, I was still employed at that time. I wasn't retired. I was working front of the court enforcement. And we heard a big hoopla on our police radios. And we didn't know what was going on until after the fact. And we found out that Mr. Lee Smith had been hit and struck on Hines Drive in the city of Westland or Dearborn Heights, I believe it was. And I knew the particular area where he was struck. It was a open turn. There was no trees or any obstructions that would warrant somebody not being seen by a vehicle. And Mr. Lee Smith was not only hit, but he was run over.
And this was 2018?
Yes.
So about 5 years ago, he lost him.
Yeah, and they were automatically assumed there was some type of connection between this individual.
Where is he raising the money? Where did it go?
The money that's going to be raised for this fundraiser for Mr. Lee Smith, part of that, the funds will go to the mounted unit for the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. That money assists them in taking care of the horses. And that's where a big part of that money goes to. Okay. And then also a portion of it will go to Motown Harley-Davidson for them to assist new motorcycle riders to get them into the culture of riding motorcycles.
So it's a Lee Smith Legacy Fund, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, here we are out in lovely downtown Trenton, and they in the background doing that thing. City work.
Fixing roads.
Yeah.
The governor's fixing the roads.
Damn roads. Now, are y'all satisfied with the governor?
I see a lot of orange barrels out there. Being a motorcycle rider myself.
Is that a good thing?
Oh, it's a good thing when it's concerning the roads.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us when the fundraiser again.
The fundraiser will start tomorrow. Registration starts at 9 a.m. and it goes from 9 a.m. to about 10:45 a.m. The kickstands are up at 11 o'clock. So if you're a motorcycle rider, you need to be out there between 9 and 10:45 to register, and then get your certification, your documents to be involved in the ride. And the kickstands are up and we're rolling out sheriff escort at 11 a.m. And the ride will last about an hour and 15 minutes all through Wayne County.
Okay. And what I didn't mention here is Frank is humble. He's an ex-motor officer, as I am, and we go for a few rides every now and then. So the point will be there'll be some really skilled motorcyclists out there, so you won't get hurt if you participate.
They're not all old like you and Frank.
Some of them are old like us. Some of them are old like us, but they still have their training and they have their skills. So we appreciate.
You got any questions for that?
Right. You gonna have somebody riding on the back of the bike with you?
I will have a passenger.
Okay.
It'll be a retired officer. She called me. She begged me that she wanted to participate.
She begged you.
Oh yeah, she wanted to go real bad. She's a retiree from the sheriff's department, and she suffered real harshly during COVID-19.
Okay.
And she barely made it out alive.
Okay.
And she will be my passenger and a sponsor of the Lee Smith motorcycle ride.
Okay. Well, thank Allan.
I missed it.
Anything for Frank?
Just one more time, tell people how they can participate in this.
Yes, all you have to do is show up at Motown Harley-Davidson in Taylor, Michigan. Between 9 and 10:45 is the registration to get you signed up for the ride. And the kickstands are up, meaning we're rolling out of that parking lot in convoy with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department as escort at 11 a.m. sharp, rain or shine.
Okay.
You can also go to the site, the website, and give on. If you're not a motorcyclist, you want to give, please do.
Okay, that's right.
And you don't have to be a motorcyclist to show up and support the event. A lot of people are coming and are non-riders, but it's a very important ride. And Mr. Lee Smith's wife will be there. She's been at every one to greet us and talk to us about her husband's memory.
Okay.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you,
Frank. Yep.
And,
Thanks so much.
No question. As we move on, I got some great news. From 9:10 a.m. they fired all of them.
What was going on?
We knew that was going to happen, though. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So what?
No question. He changed the format.
Oh, really? And so every
August 10th, like Juneteenth, they just found out that they no longer is a slave for Kevin Adele.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they changed the format, and you have to see how he ended it. He had his flunky over there send an email out, and then he threatened them. Said if you show up, the security is already ready for you. They got the name. I'm like, man.
That guard at the gate, he's going to be tough to get by. When he's awake. When he's awake.
Like they're going to come back. So he turned it into a conservative radio station. He sold the TV, and now he had his folks. They didn't even see it coming.
Yeah, but you know what? I wonder how.
Well, if it's a Christian, maybe you can. Adolph can join a Christian.
I wonder how those people who were so loyal and stayed no matter how he treated them, I wonder how they're feeling today after they got that email. I mean, the email wasn't long. It was just cut and dry. I'm like, wow.
But it seems like his biggest life accomplishment was to kick you off.
You know, well, he was an extortionist. He wanted advertising money. He wanted to be paid. Man, the guy is a fruitcake. Ain't no question. He's a fruitcake, and you know what? They shouldn't be surprised at the step that he took, and so disrespectful. He didn't pat him on the back and say, "Thanks for working for free." He said,
sent him an email.
He sent an email. I mean, and it was cut and dry. But you know what is really interesting is some of the talent like Adolph. He actually went and courted Adolph. A lot of people don't know this. He went to Adolph and said, "Hey, please come on my station. You can have this show." Yada, yada, yada. It wasn't as if Adolph would knock on 910's Superstation's door and said, "Hey, let me have a show." He went after him. And he did that for, for some other people. It reminds me of Fox back in the day when they had all that programming, black programming, urban programming, and
Yeah.
then once Fox stopped, went up, they got rid of all the programs. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, he sold it. He made some money, and you know,
he had to sell it. Didn't he have to sell it?
He owed a lot of
They
taxes.
owed the government a whole lot of money.
Property taxes.
Right, he had to sell it. There's no question. So, you know, now we probably get Jim gonna be on the show. You know, they're gonna have that conservative
oh, come on now.
You know,
no labels here. I'm the no labels guy.
What are you talking about?
With Trenton.
Once they find out how close you two are, they're going to kick you off too.
Right.
Well, I thought when I heard Jim just a little bit ago, it sounded like he was getting ready to head the presidential campaign for Gretchen Whitmer in 2028. That was my.
I voted for Gretchen Whitmer. I voted for Gretchen Whitmer.
I'm teasing.
So.
I tease.
Well, I come to find out I call you Nardone. He called you Nardone. What do your friends call you?
You don't want to know, my friends. Nardone is good. I've been called a lot of things in this life, and you can call me whatever you want. Nardone is kind of the standard.
There's no question about it. But I wanted to ask you, Allan, you know, all these polls that's coming out in Michigan now between Grandpa and the one flew over the cuckoo nest, they say it's too close to call. You know what? The Newsweek got an article, the editor of Newsweek, saying that don't be surprised if your boy wins this race, Trump.
Well, you know, I think it's still so early in the race right now. You know, we saw the polls were so close, really, before that they didn't know if Biden was going to take Michigan, and he won by over 150,000 votes, as opposed to the previous election where Trump won by 10,700 votes over Hillary. So I think it's too early. I mean, we don't know how things are going to play out with all the criminal cases, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. At some point, it could work either way with the criminal cases, where people are fatigued and they just say, you know what, this guy's got too much baggage. Let's really find a legitimate candidate. Or they go, this is all bogus.
No, it's not Ron DeSantis.
Is that Ron DeSantis?
Wait a minute. Is it Ron DeSantis? Is it Chris Christie?
No. Joe Manchin is a Republican candidate for president.
Well, yeah,
you know, it's funny. Joe Manchin has made a lot of threats about leaving, and people are like, "Oh my God, he's going to go
nowhere to go."
A Republican." You're right. He's too liberal for the Republican Party. The Republican Party has just gotten narrower and narrower, not in terms of the voter base, but in terms of like who's representing. If you're not very narrow, and he's too liberal for that, so he could be a spoiler as the no-name party or whatever. But it's a question, really, right now. Who would be a legitimate alternative? I think DeSantis the media was picking him, but they realized he's not a likable person. Like he has a likability issue, like Hillary had a likability issue. He's just not a good candidate. And his issues, you know, the slavery, education thing, I think that could be fatal. That could be fatal. Yeah.
You just said something quite interesting. You said that the media chose DeSantis. Are you saying that the media has a great impact or influence on who people vote for, and not even who they vote for, but who the picks are?
I'll tell you right now, if you follow the New Yorker magazine, did this over-the-top flattering piece on Gretchen Whitmer. Vanity Fair has done a flattering piece, and when people start, people read that and they say, Gretchen Whitmer, she sounds like a viable candidate.
Why don't you hold that thought, and we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, continue the conversation, and we probably have our next
And we do have our next guest. She's going to be ready to come on. So
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's Office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email textinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Well, welcome back to Detroit in Black and White. Adolph Mongo, Vanessa Moss, Allan, Lengel, and Je Donna Dinges. Anyway, we have our next guest, Je Donna Dinges. How you doing?
Hi, Adolph. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, let's play the clip and then we'll go right into our interview.
It was shocking to an entire community, a KKK flag appearing in the window of a home in Grosse Pointe Park, directly in line of sight of the next door neighbor, who happens to be black.
The flag has come down, and a rally of neighbors and strangers was held to call for charges. Our Mara McDonald is live at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office tonight, and Mara, Kim Worthy's office says there's no crime here.
Well, Kimberly, that's right. She also says that what happened here is despicable and traumatizing, but it does not meet the statute for ethnic intimidation.
So what happened, Je Donna?
So in 2021, in January of 2021, my ex-husband found a full container of gasoline in our recycle bin, which was adjacent to our home. It was in our backyard, so someone had to walk into our backyard, walk up the walk, open the latch, go into our backyard, and place a full container of gasoline in the recycle bin. At that time, I called the Grosse Pointe Park police. I didn't have a camera or anything or any proof of who put it there, but I had a suspicion that my neighbor had placed it there because he was a very odd character, but not just that. He also had a gas can sitting in his backyard that day. Because I didn't have any proof of who put it there, the police suggested that I get a security camera, put security cameras around my property. So I did so. I purchased a security camera. I put it on the windowsill facing out between this common walk between my neighbor's house and mine. There was only about 6 feet between the two houses. 30 days later, his response to my camera was to put up a Klan flag. He called the police to complain that I had a camera there. The police said, a lot of people have Ring doorbell cameras and so forth. She has every right to have a camera. But he felt like the camera was looking into his home. And his response was to put up the Klan flag. After he put up the flag, I did a Facebook post and the post went viral. Mara McDonald from Channel 4, who you saw in the clip, went over to the police station, talked to the police, and asked them to send someone over to tell my neighbor to take the flag down, which he did. But he said that he felt like his privacy was being violated by me having the security camera. And his response was to put up the Klan flag because he couldn't afford curtains, which I found laughable because you could put anything up at your windows if you don't have curtains, right? You can use newspaper, a bed sheet, because we know that the Klan has bed sheets because that's their uniform. Right. Okay. So he could have put anything up. And he put it there only for my family and I to see. He put it there to intimidate and terrorize us. Right. And the Wayne County prosecutor could not prosecute him because of the way that Michigan's ethnic intimidation law is written. There's 4 elements that have to be met. The 4th element, all 3 were met. The 4th element was not met, which was contact. He did not physically threaten us. He did not verbally say, he didn't say anything to us, and he didn't deface our property. So nothing could be done. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And so I did not take that lying down. I understood Prosecutor Worthy's position, but I also felt very strongly that this is not something that anyone should have to endure. And so as a result of that, I called up a friend of mine who worked in Lansing for many years. And I called my lawmakers. I called elected officials, and they didn't do what I felt like they should have done. And I'm kind of an impatient person too. So I wasn't willing to wait.
What should they have done, Je Donna?
Well, I think that the elected officials could have certainly at least had a conversation with me and with the general public about the ethnic intimidation law and what happened to me. This was an international story.
Right.
I mean, it was not just in Michigan. This story was picked up in the UK, was picked up in Palestine, all over the world. People were talking about this incident, what happened to my family and I. So legislators certainly could have at least had a conversation with me and at least had a conversation with the public about the ethnic intimidation law and the holes in the law. AG Nessel had come out 2 years prior to the incident that happened to us and said that the law was weak, and as did Prosecutor Worthy. So the AG and the Wayne County prosecutor are saying that the law is weak. So people knew that the law was weak, but no one was willing to do the work to strengthen the law. And so I decided to do it myself. So what my friend and I did was assemble a group of lawmakers, attorneys, civil rights experts, First Amendment experts, and everyday people, and to address the ethnic intimidation law and the holes in the law. I'm on a podcast. I can't come to the door. I'm sorry, I'm at my store and someone's knocking at the door. And so we could not, they did not do that. No one asked what I wanted to happen. Everybody was just like, oh, I'm sorry, he couldn't be prosecuted. And so we assembled this group. We did it in a short period of time. We put the group together. We invited the AG's office had people at the table. The governor sent people, the lieutenant governor, the NAACP, wow. Wayne County, Alicia Bell, Wayne County commissioner was at the table. So there were some pretty important people at the table who were willing to do this work. And nobody came with bravado. Nobody came with a grandiose attitude. Everyone was there to roll up their sleeves and do the work. And so we put this group together, and 30 days later we met. And we worked for 2 years developing language to change Michigan's ethnic intimidation law. So right now there is a bill, House Bill 4474, that is a hate crimes bill that has gone through the legislature. It was voted on and passed out of the House, and now is sitting in the Senate waiting for the Senate to reconvene so that it can be voted on. And this bill will strengthen the hate crimes law within the state of Michigan. It adds more components. It covers more people, because the ethnic intimidation law was basically around ethnic intimidation.
And it was weak. You had a question, Jim?
No, I would just, I appreciate your efforts to get this law passed. I was the police chief here in Trenton in 2017, and we had an issue where somebody was dropping off KKK things in the neighborhood. On rocks, and we went through a lot of grief, but the residents were outraged. The residents, I won't call him a gentleman. The guy that did it, he couldn't hardly walk around town very happily because people let him know what they thought about him, and he soon packed up and left our community.
What happened to the guy, your next door neighbor? Are you still in Grosse Pointe Park?
The incident happened in Grosse Pointe Park. We ended up moving. I had to move because my daughter, India Adolph, she has anxiety and depression, and this made her very anxious. Every creak of the floor, every noise that she heard, thunder, lightning, anything, she was terrorized. She was terrified, I should say. And so we ended up moving. And, I had to chuckle to myself because people were like, you let him run you off. My first obligation is to my child.
Right.
You've known me for more than 20 years, Adolph. Detroit don't raise no punks, okay? And I'm not a punk. I am not a fearful person, but I'm also not a stupid person. Right. The neighbor next door to me, he's still there. He had 9 guns, not 1, not 2, 9 guns legally registered to him.
Scary.
And he opened carry, taking his trash out, walking his dog, going to vote. He kept his gun at his side. So I was not going to stay there and let my daughter be fearful of if this man would try to shoot and kill us. And that's why it was so important for us to do this work. We moved to Grosse Pointe Woods. We're still in the Points. We know the reputation of the Points. And people ask me all the time, why don't you just get out? Why don't you just leave? Sometimes it's harder, but it's more important to do the work from inside the belly of the beast, right? So I'm there doing the work. This bill is in the legislature. What we need for people to
vote? When is it going to come to vote?
So what we need for people to do is get behind this legislation. The Senate has the bill. When they come back from recess, the first order of business is the budget, is the state's budget. So we're guessing that the bill will probably be taken up in October.
And so what is in the bill? What specifically does that, how does it extend coverage of hate crimes?
So the bill, House Bill 4474 and House Bill 4475, 4475 addresses desecration of sacred spaces like churches and things like that, because we know that synagogues and churches and things have been attacked by, hateful people. They've been subjected to hate crimes as well. But the 4474 will cover racism, sexism, homophobia, ageism. If someone's being targeted because they're elderly, if someone's being targeted because they're handicapped, if someone's being targeted because they're mentally ill, none of those things are in the current ethnic intimidation law. Those things will be covered. And then I'm not an attorney, not by any stretch of the imagination, but the penalties will be more severe as well for committing these hate crimes. And I think that it's really important that every Michigan citizen understands that this legislation is designed to protect everyone, not just one group of people. It's not just to protect Black people or gay people or Jewish people. It's to protect every single solitary citizen of the state of Michigan. And I think that that's a really important thing, and it's a good thing.
Okay, we're going to have you back on when this bill comes to a vote, and we got to keep pushing. Is there a number anybody can call to lend their support to you?
Well, if you go to the NAACP, the Detroit branch of the NAACP has information on their website, as does Focus Hope. Focus Hope is our nonprofit partner in this work. Our group is the Ethnic Intimidation Law Amendment Work Group. But if you go to Focus Hope's website, there's a flyer there, and it has all of the information. There is an advocacy toolkit. You can scan the QR code and download a template for writing a letter or sending an email to your lawmaker, or a script for making a phone call. And we are also having a community conversation on the 16th at the Sheet Metals Union workers, the Sheet Metal Union workers office in Southfield. So that information is on the Focus Hope's website. And hopefully people can come out to that community conversation and learn a little bit more about this legislation. I think that it's really important that everybody knows that this is to protect everybody. We can't go back and prosecute my neighbor retroactively, but we definitely can help people moving forward.
Okay, well, this is what happens when people do their thing. One last question. Go ahead, Vanessa.
It's not a question. I just want to make a comment. Je Donna,
go ahead.
I personally applaud your efforts
Thank you.
the work that you've done. A lot of times things happen to people, and when they're met with what you were met with, well, you know what? We can't even sign a warrant for this because we don't believe we can make a case for this due to how this law is crafted. Most people would just walk away and say they say there's nothing they can do, then there's nothing they can do. I think it's wonderful that you're not only looking out for yourself as a Black woman, looking out for yourself as a Black mother, you're also looking out for people all across the state of Michigan. And I think that, I personally applaud you for that.
Thank you.
A lot of us would not do that.
Thank you.
I do suspect though, that there's going to be, and I'm not saying that it's going to be successful, but there's going to be some First Amendment arguments if this thing passed in terms of defending people.
Well, the First Amendment, part of the reason that we didn't do this quickly, Vanessa, is so that we can make sure that the First Amendment pieces were addressed. And that's why we had someone from the AG's office who was the top person on hate crimes, Ms. Dudamani. Now she's working for the Department of Justice. We also had a First Amendment expert, attorney. The Solicitor General was at the table as we were doing this work.
Back to Donna.
Okay.
Hate to break it up.
That's okay.
We'll
Thanks so much.
Follow this issue. Thank you very much, Je Donna
Thank you.
Dinges.
Thanks for fighting for it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, as we come to an end of another show, Vanessa Moss, your final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts is this. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, we need for you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Detroit in Black and White every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. In addition to that, I'd like to tell everyone to go out and enjoy the weather today. We've had a lot of rain this summer. We've had a lot of gloomy days, but there's always something going on. This weekend we have, I think it's Ribs and Soul Fest this weekend at the Park Plaza, which is right next door. I mean, you have to be careful walking, because it is.
Don't have me talk about the Soul Fest. They stole that. Allan,
have a wonderful weekend.
Allan, your final thoughts.
All right, my final thoughts. I just want to say for Rodriguez, Sixto Rodriguez, who was known as in the film Searching for Sugar Man, passed away this week. An incredible artist. If you want to see his film, I think you can see it on Apple TV. I think they charge maybe $4 for it, but it's a fantastic documentary on. Basically, the story was he went to Wayne State in the 70s. He released a couple albums. They didn't go anywhere. He basically did labor jobs. And meanwhile, unbeknownst to him, in South Africa, particularly among the anti-apartheid movement, his songs became so huge. He was like as big as Elvis Presley there, and he didn't know that for decades. And finally, some people wanted to find out because there were rumors that he committed suicide, that he wasn't alive, and two people in South Africa did a search. Then a movie maker came, made a film about it, and he passed away this week at age 81. He was just his music's fantastic. So it's
well, I worked with his brother, one of his brothers.
Oh, really?
In the Coleman Young administration.
How was he?
Yeah, that he didn't get his royalties. Got beat out. He got beat out of a lot of money.
Right.
Anyway, Jim, your final thought.
I'm going to respond to Kenneth. Kenneth was asking if the station was sold, and this 910 has not been sold.
No,
they're just changing
the format.
Okay, and I want to say thanks to Kenneth and everybody else that's watching and is part of this Detroit in Black and White program, because we're doing what we can, and I appreciate it.
No question. I want to thank Frank Wood for coming here, talking about the fundraiser, retired Wayne County deputy. I want to thank Je Donna Dinges for coming on and talking about how a citizen can get involved and make some changes up in Lansing. But it's not easy, especially when you don't have the elected officials to respond to your concerns. And I want to thank State Senator Sylvia Santana for coming on, talking about her controversial trip to Israel. And we want to thank Johnny and Mia,
of course,
owners of Ramsey, right here in downtown Trenton. Teresa did a great job. Allan, Vanessa, Jim. See you next week. Detroit in Black and White.